This is an Australian movie following a federal cop played by Bana, who I haven't seen in anything in quite a few years, and I gotta say, I wish he did more movies. But anyway, the general idea here is that his character returns home after several decades to attend the funeral of his old friend, but he is then compelled to stick around for a while. For reasons I won't get into, but the whole situation is quite complicated. And this small town isn't necessarily as welcoming as one might expect either. Partially because of the long drought the region has suffered, hence the title, but also because of the main character's past and the reasons for why he left in the first place. And the movie gets into all the dirty details and essentially has two separate plot lines, or perhaps they're intertwined, of course with the main character in the middle of it all. So on the one hand we follow the main story regarding the death of his friend, and on the other hand we get to experience what happens years before, when he left. And most of that is revealed through flashbacks, but some of the missing details are also revealed through him just digging around. So this is a bit of a 2-for-1 mystery thriller drama thing, and for the most part I thought it worked very well. Even though I'm usually not the biggest fan of flashbacks and they do feel a bit clunky here too, the story there was compelling enough to keep me from having too much issue with that. And I very much liked how that story developed and it all more or less made sense in the end. Now when it comes to the other storyline, which feels a bit more like the primary story, although that is debatable, but that one I wasn't much of a fan of actually. I very much liked the execution though, for the most part, how it all developed. It was very intriguing and kept up the suspense with some very sharp writing at times. However, how it all wrapped up felt a bit underwhelming to me. It didn't quite work. It didn't have the punch and the weight I feel it should have. It just, well, it felt more like, alright, I guess that makes sense, instead of feeling like it was a great reveal that you should have seen coming all along. I feel like the hints weren't quite there earlier on and they could have done a better job setting it all up. And on top of that, I think I must have missed some detail because part of the motivation didn't quite add up to me. And it just seems like something too big for the writers to have just forgotten about. So I'm just gonna assume I missed something and it was probably explained in the movie. But let's just say there are a few layers to the hows and the whys of what happened. And most of them made sense, but one part just stood out to me as a bit puzzling. I would have also loved if they just found a way to really connect the two storylines in a better way too in the end. So I don't think it was a flawless movie in that regard, but overall I really enjoyed it. Because as I said, I found it to be very intriguing and the 2-hour runtime didn't really bother me in the slightest. It was just well paced, even though, to be fair, it very much is a slow burn. But with the sharp writing combined with the great performances all around, I mean, I think the cast here was pretty great to be honest, and especially a few of them stood out. Bana and Genevieve O'Reilly more or less knocked it out of the park here, but also the solid direction, very nice cinematography and good editing made it an enjoyable experience as a whole, which pretty much means I'm inclined to give this one a low 7. Boop. And yeah, I would probably recommend it, especially if you don't mind slow burn mystery thriller dramas, whatever you want to call this. So maybe give it a shot, or don't. After all, I'm not your dad. But hey, what are your thoughts on this? Have you seen it? Did you like it? Let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a thumbs up or sub to the channel because that would be fantastic.